Why, hello there, friends. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining me. And if you're watching this on replay, thank you so much. How are you guys doing? I hope you had a fantastic Wednesday. I just got home from Bible study. Um, and yeah, I love going to Bible study. Honestly, my church is kind of a small church. We don't really have a whole lot of people that come to our church. We're about, I don't know, maybe about 150 people or so that come on a regular basis. Excuse me, it fluctuates based on the time of year. But there's a really good core group of people. And my Bible study every Wednesday is actually, we call them growth groups, um, because it's more about, I mean, we are studying the Bible. That is the purpose of it. But it's also because the church is a family. And so growth group, small groups like this are a great way to get to know the congregation, get to know the people. I have made a lot of fantastic friends, um, and a lot of really amazing people. And I just really enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. Tonight, let me just see if I still have my Bible app up. I do not. Let me look real quick. So tonight we talked about, and I thought it was very fitting. We talked about Luke chapter 10, verse 25. Excuse me, I got the hiccups. The parable of the Good Samaritan. And it was a really, I don't want to auto scroll, go away. It was a really great discussion, because it's talking about the Good Samaritan. Jesus is talking to a lawyer, and he's talking to him about um, uh, he's talking about how to earn eternal life, and we kind of discussed like the verses and things like that in the story of the Good Samaritan. Um, and if you're not familiar with that, it is basically um, a man is beaten and robbed and left for dead in the street. And a priest walks by and ignores him. A Levite walks by and ignores him. But the Samaritan comes along and helps him, brings him, he bandages his wounds, and essentially takes him to an inn or a hospital. I can't remember where it was that he took him. bandaged his wounds, put the man on a donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. In the morning, he then gave the innkeeper money to continue taking care of this poor injured man and said that if I still owe you anything, I will pay that to you when I return. The reason why I bring all of that up is because what's going on with this whole SNAP business is that there's a lot of MAGA who identify as Christians who are very against feeding people. And this particular story is about how the Samaritan didn't judge the person that he was helping, didn't ask him what his status was, didn't ask him what he did as a job, didn't ask him if he was abusing the system, didn't ask him what he did to deserve getting beaten. All he did was he stepped in and he helped this man because this person needed help, because that's the right thing to do. That's what Jesus wants us to do. And I feel like that's very fitting to what's happening now because there's so many MAGA that identify as Christians that don't live that life. They say they're Christians in words, but they don't prove it in their actions. And in order to achieve salvation, you have to live your life in Christ. That's part of it, right? So you can say that you believe in Jesus and you can accept Jesus Christ as your savior. Um, but if you're not living as Christ did, if you're not doing the works to earn that, um, and live the life that Christ wants you to lead, then you're not really a Christian, right? You know, and somebody and Jesus is telling specifically tells this lawyer that he wants him to be the man that stops and helps. There's no judgment there. There's no questions. There's no, "Oh, you are not good enough to be helped," or "You're the wrong type of person," or "You're not even, are you a believer?" He doesn't even ask the person that he's helping if he's a follower of Christ. He just helps him. And it's like, I don't understand how MAGA Christians can sit here and judge people and say, "Well, you don't deserve to eat," or "You're doing something wrong," or "You're illegal and you don't deserve help." When Jesus very clearly teaches us to help people, to take care of people, regardless of their immigration status, regardless of their status in life, whether they're rich, they're poor, whatever. It just teaches us to help our fellow people. And MAGAs kind of live in the opposite of that. They want to take rights away from people. They want to take benefits away from people. They want to take health care away, SNAP, like all of these things that Jesus would support, they want to take away from people because they feel like these people don't deserve it. And that's just wrong. And that goes against what Jesus teaches in the Bible. If you want to read it for yourself, again, it is Luke 10:25, or yeah, Luke 10:25, and it's the parable of the Good Samaritan. But anyway, I thought it was a very fitting um, chapter to read for Bible study today because it is very relevant with what's going on with our day-to-day stuff. So anyway, how are you doing? I hope you're fantastic. Work was good today because I got everything done that I was supposed to get done. I kind of had a goal to get it done by the end of the week, so that the fact that it is Wednesday and I got it done and all completed and I'm all caught up today and head of the game is fantastic for me because that means it opens me up to do other things and get caught up because we are in the process of, when I was first hired on with this company, we were still all working with paper files. We were behind in the times. So when we had our new HR director come in last year, we started the very giant process of going digital. We are almost there. We are about 3/4 of the way through all of our files. Um, and we're getting there, but this just means that I've got more free time to catch up and do more digitizing this week. Thank goodness. So, and I have meetings. I have meetings every week though. So that's kind of how that goes. Um, my Blue Jays are up. According to the score, we are in the top of the sixth. It is 3-1 Blue Jays. So let's hope that they maintain that lead. Um, it is game 4. And if Blue Jays win tonight, and then when is game? Um, what's the schedule? Let's take a look at the schedule. Okay. So they play tonight and then they don't play again until Friday. So they have 2 days off after tonight. Which is because they go back to Toronto to play the last 2 games. Now, hopefully, if the Blue Jays win tonight, that means that we won't need the final game on, I believe it would be Saturday. So it doesn't say. And it's possible that it may not be scheduled because it's not it's may not be necessary. Yeah, they don't have game 7 posted anywhere. But again, if Blue Jays win tonight and then win Friday night, we won't need a game 7. That's okay. I'm good with that. But a Saturday game 7 would be a lot of fun to watch and nail biting because that would mean that the series would be tied and whoever wins game 7 wins the World Series. So, fingers crossed, Blue Jays keep up this lead. All right. Um Another thing I wanted to talk about real quick before we get into the nitty-gritty of what the topic is for tonight. Um my Snap videos have been getting a lot of attention. Um I'm almost at 100 views on my Snap stream from the other day. From what, Monday? Monday. Yeah, Monday. And it's not so much the views that I've been getting, but I've been getting a lot of engagement. There have been a very there have been a lot of MAGA that have been coming around my videos, which is totally fine. Because at the end of the day, engagement's engagement, right? I still ended up with like 35 likes, 36 likes, or something like that on that video, and a bunch of comments. What's really funny though is that a lot of the comments on the first video were like, get a job. You should just get a job, get off Snap. Why should I have to pay? So there was a lot of assumptions made about the fact that because I'm advocating for Snap must mean that I am receiving Snap. And that is not the case. And Mega just seems to like roll with the assumptions, regardless of whether or not that assumption is going to make them look like an idiot. So, much to the dismay of the people pointing out, hey, get a job, I hate to break it to you, but number one, I have a job. Number two, I don't receive SNAP benefits. I am an immigrant. I'm a Canadian immigrant, and I'm here legally. And even though I am here legally, I still do not qualify for any type of social benefits until I've been here for 5 years. So I've only been here for 3. So even if we were in a position where we needed SNAP benefits, I wouldn't be able to collect them because I don't qualify yet. I would still have to wait an additional 2 years. So rather than have meaningful discussions, a majority of the MAGA that come and interact on my channel and watch my videos are not really here for conversation. They're just here to troll. And it's like, that's kind of the mentality of most of the MAGA that I come across on the internet. They're not interested in actual discussion. They're here to just laugh, point. They don't care about facts. They just want to get the one up, the gotcha moment, rather than have an actual discussion. Now, granted, there was a MAGA, I believe he's MAGA. He might be Republican. He didn't really come out and say what he was, but it's easy enough to determine, take a guess that he's on that side of the fence. Regardless of that, though, we had a very civil discussion, and the comments are still there if you want to go and read them. There was no name calling. There was just basically an exchanging of opinions. Now, at the end of the day, he and I are not going to agree. However, it is possible to have civil, reasonable discussions with a small number of people that are in the MAGA party. So I do appreciate those when they come along because it is nice to have those discussions. But a majority are they're just trolls. They don't care. They're uneducated and they just want to be here to be mean. And it's like, and that kind of ties in with the topic that we're talking about tonight. is that the MAGA party has kind of changed the Republican Party as a whole, and more people are more comfortable coming out and showing their true colors. The fact that they're racist, they're xenophobic, they're bigots, and they just don't care about other people. And we see that all the time. I know that this shutdown is being positioned in a way that is trying to make Democrats look bad. Like, it's Democrats, they don't want you to eat. They don't want you to eat. And it's like, that's not what's happening. The reason why Democrats are voting against this clean CR bill is because voting for it and approving it would mean that a large portion of Americans would see their health premiums more than double, go up by like 75 to 100%. And that's just not affordable for the rest of us, you know? And there was oh, JD Vance. Ugh. So I guess JD Vance sat down and did an interview with someone. JD Vance says it's totally reasonable to not want to live next to people who speak another language. And that's the kind of thing that we're talking about. Like, that's ignorance right there. You don't want to live next to people who speak another language? Just because they speak another language doesn't mean that they don't speak English or that they're stupid. Why would you be offended by somebody else speaking another language? This man is married to an Indian woman and has mixed race kids, yet he panders to white supremacists for applause. That's really sad. And that explains why his poor wife has looked like she's aged 10 years in just a year. I don't know if you've seen pictures of JD Vance's wife, but I feel for her. She looks tired. She is looking rough. And I can only imagine the stress that she is under that would make her look like that. Yikes. Yikes on bikes. Okay. So, part of what I saw tagged for the GOP on X today had to do with um, Hammer Toe Barbie. Um, oh, yeah. Ann Coulter. This is another thing. Ann Coulter. So, Josh Hawley said we cannot let 42 million Americans go hungry. And Coulter replied to that and said 40 million of them could get jobs. And that's what prompted the short that I put out today is 40 million of them could get jobs. No, no, that's not true. That's not true at all. So she's basically saying that she wants children, elderly folks, disabled folks, people that are staying home and taking care of disabled family members. Um, she wants them to go out and get jobs. I'm sorry. Um, does that mean like my husband's 83-year-old grandmother is supposed to go out and get a job? She has dementia. So how exactly is she supposed to get a job? You know? Or the millions of children that are receiving SNAP, they're supposed to go out and get a job? Like, the mentality of MAGA is just straight up stupid. It really honestly is. Number one, they don't have empathy for other people because let's face it, everybody deserves to eat. And number two, they don't care. They straight up don't care. And that's kind of what prompted the whole GOP idea is that the the Republican Party that I remember from the 2000s is vastly different from what it is today. And it just seems like they're more openly hateful. They're more openly corrupted. They're more openly greedy. And that's not to say that Democrats don't have those traits as well. But it just seems like Donald Trump has given them permission to be all of these things very, very publicly without any type of consequences, you know? And like the Republican Party before, you could have reasonable conversations with them. You could sit down and you could exchange facts and you could exchange data and you could, have reasonable discussions about policy and things like that. But the MAGA party today, it just is straight up hateful. You know, anyone of color, anyone that's part of the LGBTQ, women, anybody that's trans, they just seem to straight up hate us. And they will do everything that they possibly can to hurt us. And it's like, I don't understand, first of all, how you justify that type of attitude to yourself. Like, to sit here and say, you know, I think only legal Americans should be allowed to have food. They should be the only ones that we help feed. Why? Every human being on this planet deserves to eat. Everyone, regardless of their immigration status, regardless of where they are, what they do for a living, what kind of crimes they've committed, who they've helped, anything. If they're alive, they deserve to eat. That is a basic necessity of life. Everyone deserves that. But the fact that MAGA will sit here and judge people and feel like they want to pick and choose who they help is just heartless, honestly. It's heartless. And it makes me sad. I could never be part of a political party that treats people that way. I just couldn't. I don't have it in me. Um, let's see. I thought I had something about that's from yesterday. I could have sworn I shared something about here it is. So, they okay, so the whole shutdown is happening because the Democrats didn't or weren't going to vote to support this bill that takes away healthcare. It cuts healthcare. It's going to cause everybody's premiums to go up. People are going to lose their health insurance. Those that get to hang on to it are going to have to pay a whole lot more. Now, in a sane world, you would think that if they're going to be cutting that type of healthcare, that they would be stepping in with a different plan, or at least have something else in place to because you can't just cut healthcare and then just leave people high and dry, right? Because that means that a lot more like, already we're at a point where people don't have health insurance because they can't afford it. They're not going to the doctor because they don't have insurance and they can't afford it. People are getting sicker because they can't go to their doctor or even have a doctor to stay healthy, So, I mean, we still the ACA is not great, but it's what we've got for the time being. Now, I'm sure that if the GOP had some other type of plan in place that they could present and be like, "Hey, look, we want to repeal the ACA, but we want to replace it with this. What do you think?" Then there could be some negotiation on that. There's something to talk about. But the fact that MTG was out here and exposed that Mike Johnson admitted that they do not have a plan to replace it, and they're just going to leave Americans high and dry just goes to show that they're not prepared. And that the fact that they're not prepared means that they don't care. You know, the fact that they're not showing up to session means that they don't care about the American people. I don't know how more blatantly obvious they can be about that, but they just don't care. And when you have Trumpers like Hammer Toe Barbie stepping in to call out an issue like this is a pretty big deal because she was, and I don't know if she still is, but the fact that she's calling out the GOP for not having a replacement for the ACA um, is showing that maybe the tides are turning inside the MAGA party. But Republicans back in the day, would they have just left Americans high and dry like this? I don't think so. I don't think so because there was a lot of difference in policy, but I think the basics were the same. It's one thing to be conservative and want to cut back, but to just cut it out completely and leave Americans with no options? That's kind of scary, you know? And the fact that they are trying to push and they're trying to paint this picture like Mamdani Zoran is or Zoran Mamdani, I just got them mixed up. Um he's trying to push for an Islamic theocracy. I don't even think they understand what that means because nothing that he has introduced in his campaign has even suggested that he wants to hint at some kind of Islamic theocracy, you know? And see, this is the thing. People are saying that Islam is taking over and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, sure, a lot more people and a lot more Americans are converting. I know a handful of Muslims who are American that they converted to um, Islam. I think my one friend, I think she has been Islamic for, I think, going on 15 years. There's another one that I've known that has, like, he's been one for 20 years. They started out as Christians in Texas, and then they converted to Islam by their choice. Um, but see, the big difference is that there's no type of Islamic takeover of the country. Just because you have more Muslims in the country doesn't mean that they're trying to take over. It just means the country's a little more diverse. I dare any one MAGA to show me where any type of legislation that is Islamic that's being introduced into the government. Because Christians can't say that. There is a lot of policy that is Christian driven. This country is basically going towards a Christian theocracy. And now that I have become a Christian, I still have a problem with that because not everybody in the country is a Christian. Not everybody in the country is expected to be a Christian. But unfortunately, there's a lot of Christians in politics that are using their religion to influence the policy that they introduce. So it's not Islam that's being introduced into our laws and forced on us. It's Christianity. And I think what the big fear around all of this is, of Mamdani being a Muslim is because they are afraid of people who are Muslim doing to them what Christians have done to the rest of the people in this country. That's the fear. They don't want someone forcing the Islamic religion on them the way they're trying to force Christianity on everybody else. And I think that's what it boils down to. They don't want Sharia law. Sharia law is not happening in the US, my friends. It's not. But the Christian equivalent to Sharia law is being attempted in the country right now. And they don't want to admit to it. But we all see it. We all see it. I don't think that everybody in this country should be forced to follow one religion. I don't think that anyone in this country should be forced to follow any religion if they don't want to. Because this is a free country and the Constitution states that you have the right to practice your religion, regardless of what that religion is. You have the freedom to follow no religion. It's in the Constitution. So we shouldn't have Christianity influencing any type of laws in this country. Laws should remain completely secular. That way, you're not singling out one particular religion and everybody else has to follow the same rules. But religion shouldn't be influencing laws because we are not a theocracy. And I don't want to be a theocracy. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be that a theocracy. I don't want to force anybody to follow the same religion that I do. I don't think anybody should be forced. It should be something that someone willingly wants to do. If you want to believe in Jesus, you believe in Jesus. If you want to follow Muhammad, follow Muhammad. If you want to be Jewish, if you want to be Buddhist, any religion, if you want to be Wiccan, pagan, whatever, you are in the USA. We are a free country. You should be free to follow whatever religion you want. As long as you're not harming others, then what's the big deal, right? Anyway, I got off on a bit of a tangent there. I had articles pulled up to talk about the differences between the GOP before Trump and the GOP after Trump. And from what I'm reading, it's that it's basically talking about how much more radicalized the GOP has become since Trump has entered the picture. Um, so this article has a bit of a chart, and um, I'll share it real quick. Give me a sec. Let me share my screen. Which screen is this? Was it this? No, it's not that one. Is it this one? It's that one. Okay. Sorry, I'm talking to myself. All right. So this is basically just a chart that is showing how much more conservative the Republican Party has become. So it starts here at 1975, roughly, and then up until this looks like 2013, 2014, something like that. And it just shows self-identified Republicans moving far more towards extreme conservative end of its scale as opposed to extremely liberal over the past decades. I can talk, let me tell you. Let me just check on my game here real quick. Oops. I lost my page. What are we at? Oh, we're still top of the seventh, still 3-1. Ooh, it looks like the Blue Jays might take game 4 or game 5. Yeah, we're on game 5. Holy crap. Okay. So, political scientists have concluded that the Republicans now in Congress are much further right of the congressional Republicans of the 70s and 80s. Even anecdotally, figures like former House Speaker John Boner, that's what a name, um, Ohio Governor Josh Kasich, and the late Arizona Senator John McCain, considered solid conservatives in the George H.W. Bush era, found themselves cast as insufficiently right-wing by the party's base in recent years. That is something that I've noticed with today's MAGA Republicans, is that they are very quick to throw their own under the bus and label them as rhinos, which is Republicans in name only. So if you don't align and support Trump 100%, you're not one of them. They're quick to cast you out. So there's a lot of judgment there that if you don't fall in line with what Trump sees for the Republican Party, you're not one of them, you're the enemy. And that's a little alarming. In Bush's era, Fox News did not exist. So that's a valid point too, because if you think Republicans back in the day in the 80s and 90s, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have social media. We didn't have YouTube or Facebook or X, all of that. We didn't have such an easy way to share news and share it as quickly as we do now. And the fact that misinformation and propaganda now travels so much faster um, is as scary as well. Because there was another article, I think it might have been this article. This one I didn't want to use because it's just a little bit older. Yeah, this one just kind of goes back a little bit to Trump's first term. But it was talking about how a majority of Republicans back in the 80s and 90s were more educated and more of them had college degrees compared to now when the education level is so much lower than what it used to be. Now, when you have an uneducated population, unfortunately, they fall victim to lies and propaganda because they don't have the common sense or the critical thinking skills it takes to do their own research, to find the data. A lot of MAGA just blindly believes whatever they're told, and they've become a lot more complacent, right? So if Trump says a lie and it's a blatant lie, and even if he's fact checked immediately, the MAGA party is more likely to side with Trump and justify his lie and build up that lie rather than say, "Oh, yeah, hey, you know what? He was wrong. He didn't know. He shouldn't have said that. That unfortunately was untrue." There's no accountability for their grand um, diaper Don, unfortunately. It's almost like they're afraid of him. But because MAGA has become the beast that it is, it's given Trump that ego boost that he needs to keep doing what he's doing. This is why he thinks he's invincible. This is why he says the things that he says. There was an interview where they stopped him to ask him a question the other day about sending other branches of the military into American cities. And he basically straight up told the reporter that he could do whatever the hell that he wanted. He could send the the military wherever he wanted, and the Supreme Court wasn't going to stop him, judges weren't going to stop him, no one was going to stop him, and he could just do whatever he wants. And it's unfortunate because this uneducated MAGA base who believes everything that he says has inflated him so much that now he thinks he's invincible and can do whatever the hell he wants. And they're so kind of clueless that they don't see this, because then they turn around and go, "Oh, well, why are you guys having a no kings protest? Why do you want a no kings protest? Trump's not a king." You're trying to treat him like one. You're boosting him up like one, right? You're not holding him accountable for anything. How many laws has he ignored or broken? You know, he's clearly disregarded how many things in the Constitution. This time 2 years ago, we had MAGA that were identifying as constitutionalists and that they lived and breathed by the Constitution. That is the founding document of the United States, and we live by the Constitution, yada, yada, yada. Where are those people now when Trump is very openly going against the Constitution, but not a single person is stepping up on their side of the aisle to hold him accountable and say, "Hey, guess what? You can't do that. We have a Constitution that says that you can't." Like, this whole nonsense about him running for a 3rd term or him running as vice president, and to have JD Vance step down so that he can become president again. Those things are very clearly written out in the Constitution that they are not allowed. Very specifically say those things are not allowed. But he's floating those ideas out there because he's trying to see what people are going to tolerate and get away with. And if he feels like his base is going to support him enough, he's going to go ahead and do it. And the fact that he said, just recently in the last couple of days that he wouldn't do it, the fact that the man lies on a daily basis just shows that we can't trust what he says, because he may turn around 3, 4 weeks from now and say, "I never said that." Or I might still run for a 3rd term, you know? And that's frightening. So MAGA will sit here and accuse us and be like, "Well, Trump's not a king. You guys are just your protest is doing nothing." No, we're protesting because he's trying to behave like a king and you guys are letting him. You're encouraging him. You're justifying him going against our laws, going against our Constitution, bypassing all the checks and balances that are in place to prevent this from happening. You guys are just sitting back and closing your eyes to what's happening in front of you. And you're just allowing it to happen. And that's scary, because we all know that if it was a Democrat president that was sitting here talking about running for a 3rd term, MAGA would be losing their fucking minds. They would absolutely be losing their minds. And they would be screaming about the Constitution. But because it's Trump, they allow it. They don't speak out against it. They justify it. And that's where we are with the GOP party today. They are complacent. I don't believe that everybody in the Republican Party, a part of the Congress and the Senate, I don't believe they're all Trumpers. I believe that some of them want to hold him accountable. But unfortunately, they're not a big enough voice in the branches of government that are able to do anything. A majority of them have to come together and be like, we have to hold this man accountable before he destroys this country. Because we are seeing this country dive into poverty. You know, invested. Oh God, my voice is getting very dry. I've started investing in stocks last year. And the stock market right now is absolutely terrible. Stocks are plummeting. And they may go back up for a couple of days, but then they shoot right back down again. There is no consistency in that market whatsoever. We've lost close to 1 million jobs in this country. 1 million. And this is not like jobs just being taken away. This is people actually being laid off. 1 million jobs. Gas prices haven't come down. Grocery prices have gone up. In particular, beef. Beef has skyrocketed. So he's not actually doing anything to benefit this country. He's costing us more money. His tariffs alone, the average is $4,900 for the average family. It's going to cost us this year alone just for Trump's tariffs because we pay tariffs, not anybody else. Oh, here we go. Hi, guys. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I. Hi, Bree. How are you? I was just looking at your picture a little bit ago and I was thinking, damn, you look good. I noticed that someone had commented and said that you look really, really happy. And I just want to say, you do look really, really happy. And I am so happy for you. And yeah, I wish I had your confidence. I do. But yeah, anyway, I got off on a tangent and I missed all the comments. I apologize. But yeah, anyway. So, 5 viewers. Hello, people. Thank you for joining. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I wonder what happens if I put my comments on stage. Oh, they pop up. Nice. I love that. Oh, my Blue Jays scored another run, by the way. Yay. Comments distracted me, got me off of that tangent. But anyway, so I think it's the beast that MAGA has become is something that is it's going to eventually collapse. I mean, we can't keep going at the rate that we're going. And it's either going to be people are going to turn around and they're going to vote Democrat across the board so that Democrats can come in and change everything, hopefully back to the way it was or improve it somehow to the way that it is. Or the system itself is just going to collapse because enough people are going to be hurt. And we're coming to that critical point. The fact that there's going to be millions of people in the month of November that are not going to be able to eat because there's no SNAP. The fact that if the government eventually gets back to working and healthcare premiums go up, people are going to lose health insurance. There's going to be some kind of catalyst that's going to set the country off. And it's either going to go good or bad. And I honestly, at this point, I can't tell which way that's going to go. I can only cross my fingers and hope that it's going to be well. But there's no way to predict that. Please understand that the happy is an act. I spend my life in chronic panic. I wish I could say I'm 100% understand that, but that would be extremely insensitive of me to say that I understand how you're feeling because obviously that's impossible. I don't. But I empathize with you, and I wish with all of my heart there was something that I could do to ease that for you. Because no one should live in a constant panic. No one should live in fear. No one should live in a free country and feel that pain. It's 2025. That is just completely unacceptable. And I wish there was something that I could do to make it better. Um, but I can empathize. I can empathize with you because in the position that I'm in, I'm also in a vulnerable position. Not the same kind of vulnerable position, but also a vulnerable position being an immigrant. Because it could be something as simple as someone reports my social media or, somebody makes a false claim. Because at this point, even people that are here legally are getting grabbed off the streets, arrested and deported. So, I mean, like I said, I don't understand your specific position, but I do empathize with that panic and that fear because I feel that myself too in the position that I'm in. So, I am so sorry. I really am. And I wish there was something that I could do to make it better. And if there is something that I can do to help you in particular, just message me on Facebook and I will do what I can. And I know that Evan will as well because we love you. You're amazing. You're awesome. And no one, regardless of who they are, no one deserves to live in fear. And we shouldn't. Anyway, I have been talking for 45 minutes. My goodness. Um, and I kind of weaved around my topic a little bit, but we did, for the most part, cover it. So I appreciate everyone being here. I hope you all have a fantastic evening. Oh, it's 5-1 J's. Ooh, I think, and it's the top of the seventh, so I think they're gonna take game five, which is super exciting. That means they only have to win one more game to win the World Series. Listen, I know I have been talking about the World Series every single stream this week because I love my Blue Jays. Baseball is the only sport that I actually enjoy. So I'm going to gush about it a little bit because my team is in the World Series. So why wouldn't I? But anyway, thank you for watching. I will be back tomorrow evening with a new topic. I don't know what that is yet, but we will get there. Um, but thank you. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you aren't already. I love you all, and I will see you tomorrow.